My voice. Now what? I don't have the mic out today. I've got this sitting on a sleeping bag in front of me as I sit cross-legged in bed. I wanted to keep it simple and brief today because I'm tired and I kind of have a headache. But I wanted to talk about one of my favorite dogs. Well, fictional dogs. Not every dog can be like this. But I wanted to read you some excerpts from the Dresden Files from various books about Mouse. This is from Proven Guilty, one of the later books, but Mouse is all grown up at this point. Mouse let out a low rumble of a growl, which made me grow a shade more wary. Mouse rarely made noise at all. When he did, I'd begun to think it was because there was some kind of dark presence around. Evil magic, hungry vampires, and deadly necromancers had all earned snarls of warning. But he never made a peep when the mailman came by. So, adding it up, someone from the nasty end of my side of the supernatural street was following me around town. Mouse growled another warning. I see him, I told Mouse quietly. Easy, just keep walking. He fell silent again, and we never broke stride up to the door. I just want to give you some of the descriptors about Mouse. Okay, and I'm skipping through some of the parts that don't really apply to him. So here's from the next book after that, White Knight. Mouse sees a lot of action in this book. Okay. An enormous mound of shaggy gray and black fur appeared from the shadows in the little linoleum-covered alcove that passed for my kitchen. He walked over to me, yawning as it came, its tail wagging in relaxed greeting. I hunkered down as my dog sat and thrust his head toward me, and I vigorously scratched his ears and chin and the thick ruff of fur over his neck with both hands. Mouse. All quiet on the home front, boy? His tail wagged some more, jaw dropping open to expose a lethal array of very white teeth, and his tongue lolled out in a doggy grin. Oh, I forgot the mail, I said. You mind getting it? Mouse promptly rose, and I opened the door. He padded out in total silence. Mouse moves lightly for a rhinoceros. Mouse returned a moment later, long enough to have gone out to the designated dog-friendly little area in the house's yard. He had several bits of mail held gently in his mouth, and he dropped them carefully onto the surface of the old wooden coffee table in front of my sofa. Then he went over to the door and leaned a shoulder against it. It hadn't been installed quite right, and it was a real pain in the ass to open. And once it was open, it was a real pain in the ass to close. Mouse shoved at the door with a little snort of familiar effort, and it swung to. Then he came back over to settle down by me. Thanks, boy. I grabbed the mail and scratched his ears again. All right, here's a little bit later when you learn a little bit more about Mouse. Now, saying he was barking might give you the general shape of things, but it doesn't convey the scale. Everyone in Chicago knows what a storm warning siren sounds like. They make your usual warning siren sound, but I had an apartment about 30 yards from one of them once upon a time, and take it from me, that sound is a whole different thing when you're next to it. It isn't an ululating wail. When you're that close to the source, it is a tangible flood, a solid, living, sonic cascade that rattles your brain against your skull. Mouse's bark was like that, but on several levels. Every time he barked, I swear to you, several of my muscles tightened and twitched as if hit with a miniature jolt of adrenaline. I couldn't have slept through half as much racket, even without the odd little jabs of energy that hit me like separate charges of electricity with each bark. It was deafening in the little apartment, nearly as loud as gunfire. He let out 12 painfully loud barks and then stopped. My ears rang in the sudden silence that followed. Within seconds, we began to hear thumping sounds on the floor above me, bare feet swinging out of beds and landing hard on the floor, almost in unison, like something you'd expect in a training barracks. Someone shouted in the apartment neighboring Anna's. Other dogs started barking. Children started crying. Doors started slamming open. Mouse sat down again, his head tilted this way and that, ears twitching at each new noise. This was a case where a building was on fire and people needed to be woke up. So Mouse did it. You start to get a sense that he's smart. Not like dog smart, like smart. Anyways, so this is from the book that I'm currently reading, Small Favor. And this is after a fight where sprinkler systems get set off and a lot of people get wet, and it's winter. That left me and Mouse in the back of the truck, both of us soaking wet in the middle of winter, in the middle of a blizzard. The cold moved from my belly to my chest, and I curled up into a ball because I didn't have much choice in the matter. Sometimes shivering sucks, I growled to Mouse, teeth chattering. My dog, whose thick winter coat wasn't much good after it had gotten a good soaking, leaned against me as hard as I leaned against him, underneath the rough blanket, while the cab of the truck heated up nicely, its windows fogging. I felt like a Dickens character. I thought about explaining that to Mouse just to occupy my thoughts, but he was suffering enough without being forced to endure Dickens, even by proxy. So we made the trip in miserable, companionable silence. And then here's a little bit later where Dresden goes out to, and you need the context on this. He's going out to talk to a man who is evil, like 2,000-year-old evil, and probably the scariest thing that Dresden has ever faced. And this is the way he talks to him, because he's asking about the dog. This guy is like, what is that? A precaution against getting stuck in deep snow, I said. He's training to be a St. Bernard. Excuse me, Nicodemus said. I mimed covering one of Mouse's ears with my hand and stage whispered, "Don't tell him that they don't actually carry kegs of booze on their collars. Break his little heart." So that's a perspective on a really awesome dog. A fictional dog, obviously, based on a breed of dog that is real. I couldn't tell you what it is, but they're large and have like a mane. So very cool dog. I guess you get the impression I'm a dog person, because I am, even though I don't have a dog, but I love dogs. So that's Mouse. I hope y'all enjoyed those little tidbits of his life. So my voice, now what?